Hi guys, I'm David Lefevre. I'm one of the 2006 StarChefs.com Rising Stars, and we're at Manhattan Beach Post, my restaurant, to do a really simple scallop dish here on the Jade plancha that we have. We've got some Maine diver scallops, really nice plump, small, sweet scallops. We're going to season them with a little bit of salt and pepper to start, and then we're going to take the scallops with a little bit of olive oil and use the Jade plancha to really get a great sear on these things. One of the great parts of the plancha that Jade supplies is it's got really incredible heat. So as you can see, putting the scallops on there right away, you get a great hot smoke, a really quick sear without cooking the inside of the scallop. While we're cooking that, we're just going to make sure that we keep the plancha nice and clean and keep it sparkling the whole time. It's a great product that we want to make sure it really keeps nice and clean. A little bit more olive oil. And all night long we'll be doing these scallops for the dish. So one of the philosophies that we have at the restaurant is keeping everything very simple and very soulful. So as you can tell, the great color that you can start to get on these scallops within just a couple seconds keeps that sweet, sweet flavor without overcooking the scallop. Once these are cooked, I'm going to lay them on a sizzle platter, and we're going to flash them right before we serve them onto the dish. Quick wipe on the plancha, keeping it nice and clean. You can see the heat that this machine gives you. It's a really nice advantage as opposed to working with the flame, a direct flame in a pan. All right, we're going to move on to dumplings next. Okay, so one of the most important parts of this dish are the shrimp and ginger dumplings that we make. And when we were deciding to do this, we thought of a couple things. We could buy wonton skins or we could use regular pasta dough, but all of us really love dim sum in the kitchen, so we really wanted to have that same texture of the dough that they're using in dim sum with their shrimp dumplings. So what we found out is if we take some wheat starch, some rice flour, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of vegetable oil, and mix them together in the bowl, and then all you need to add really is a little bit of hot water. We already seasoned with salt, and then we're just going to mix it up here, getting as much of it in there, and it looks a little bit dry right now. And we found during the process of making the dough that we weren't letting it sit long enough before we started to knead it. Getting all that dough down to the bottom, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it with a little bit of plastic wrap to let it sit and steam a little bit. We're going to let this sit and steam for about 15 minutes to let that moisture from the heat of the water seep into that dough, and then we're going to knead it out. All right, so we have that dough. We've just kneaded it for a little bit, and it's coming together. You can really see the nice spongy texture it has of it. It's not like a typical pasta dough that when rested you put it in the fingers, the indentation stays, kind of puffs back. So I'm going to take just a little bit of this dough for our purpose, and you can see the inside. It's got that nice kind of stretchy, spongy quality to it. I'm going to take a little bit of the wheat starch and just put it on the outside of the dough because we're going to use a pasta machine for this. Now, Chinese restaurants, a lot of times they'll take a little round piece of it and smush it and make it, but we found for us, doing it in the pasta machine makes it a lot simpler and a lot more efficient. So we're going to start out on around 5 or 6. Just roll it nice and slowly through. All right? You can see it's going nice and thin. You can see right here that dough, you can see through it. It's nice and thin. All we're going to do now is we're going to cut them into the dumpling rings that we'll be filling with the shrimp ginger filling in it. You could cut squares. The dough's really, really, it's got a great elasticity to it. It's very durable. So you don't really have to worry too much about it breaking when you're working with it. We've got a real simple shrimp, ginger, garlic, scallion, and a little shiro dashi filling. All we're going to do is pipe a little bit on each dumpling, not too much. They can't be too big. So we just take the dumpling in your hand, a little bit of water, fold it in half and a half moon. All right? If your fingers are starting to stick, just use a little bit of that wheat starch. And then what I would do is I want to do that traditional fold that you see in a lot of dumpling houses, a little crimp. All right, so now we have the ginger shrimp dumplings with our own dough that we made in-house with a little bit of wheat starch and rice flour. We're gonna steam those. We're gonna have the sweet shrimp, and then we've got a katsu dashi broth that has some shiitake, some daikon, and a little bit of yuzu koshu, shiro dashi in it as well. So we've got these really great, sweet, smoky salt flavors that are gonna come together on the dish. All right, so now that we have the dumplings made, we're gonna sear the scallops off. The last thing that we have to do is prepare the katsu dashi broth. Katsu dashi broth is a simple Japanese broth made with wakame, bonito flakes, and then we season it up with a little bit of yuzu koshu, as well as some shiro dashi, which has a nice smoky flavor. So you get a little bit of spice in there, a little bit of smoke in there, and also we have some shiitake mushrooms and daikon. So we're just going to take raw shiitake mushrooms and add them to a katsu dashi broth that's already warmed up. We're going to add a couple pieces of daikon in there as well, and then we're going to add a little bit of the yuzu koshu. Now this yuzu koshu paste can be pretty spicy, so you don't want too much because we really don't want it to overpower the subtleties in the broth. We're going to take that broth, just bring it to a quick simmer to cook the vegetables through, and then we're going to be able to start plating the dish. All right, so we have the katsu dashi broth. It's got daikon inside it, as well as those shiitake mushrooms. I'm going to just plate those on the bottom of the bowl. We have a nice hot bowl. I love these Rebel bowls because they're oven safe. You can put them on the flat top, they won't crack, and they still look elegant. Last thing we're going to do is season that same broth with a little bit of shiro dashi, which has a nice smoky flavor to it. Just need to taste it, make sure the seasoning, the salt's good on it. It's got good spice from the yuzu koshu. Got a little bit of citrus too from the yuzu zest, and then we're going to add just a little bit of the shiro dashi, which is going to add a little bit of salt and a little smoke. Just a little bit. This stuff can be really powerful, and if you add too much, it takes over the whole broth. Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to place the scallops in the bowl. Beautiful sear on these scallops at the plancha got. Then I'm going to take these beautiful ginger shrimp dumplings. They're nice and translucent. They have a really great texture, a good bite to them. 3 of those in there. We're just going to take that broth and spoon it right over the whole dish. We don't need to have a ton of this. It's got good heat. It's got that smokiness to it. So what happens when you taste the dish together, it's got a great sweet smoke salt balance. And what it does is it really makes the sweetness of those scallops stand out, the sweetness of the shrimp stand out. Lastly, we've got just a little bit of some tops of cilantro that we're going to add to it to add some brightness to the dish. And then we're ready to go.